It is great good fortune that in my town of St. Petersburg, Florida, we have such a nice variety of yoga practitioners. In this video, you'll have the guidance and expertise of an Iyengar practitioner, Tricia, who will guide you through this practice. Big thanks to Tricia for sharing this with us.
My name's Tricia. I'm an Iyengar yoga practitioner. This is not my usual practice, let me say that. This practice is for chemotherapy specifically. I'm currently undergoing chemotherapy. I'm about a quarter of the way through. When Rita asked me to do this, it was a stipulation that we would do, yes, we do what I'm practicing now, but also we'd look at how practice evolves throughout this process. Some of you may be going through cancer. I'm going through breast cancer, and my particular breast cancer is what's termed as triple negative, which means there is no female hormonal markers to it. So let's just get down to asana practice. This setup is for supported Śavāsana, but the first 3 poses will be done on this setup. I have 3 bolsters, roughly the same side, as support for my head, and obviously 2 sandbags. They're actually to help make the nervous system more quiet. Our hands are one way that we receive input from the world, and it's important that you remain quiet doing these postures. Chemotherapy is considered heating to the body, and so it's imperative that you keep cool, that your nerves remain calm. You want to be as under little strain as possible. This is an inward practice. You start from the inside and work your way out. And actually, Guruji B.K.S. Iyengar did coin the phrase from working from the periphery to the core and from the core back to the periphery. And that's very much where I'm at. While some of you might be used to a more rajasic external practice, and I do too, enacting my will upon poses, getting myself into poses, now is not the time. If this is your present, now is not the time. So first, supported Śavāsana. And it might surprise you to start with Śavāsana. So always when you're coming into supported Śavāsana, you want to still lift and extend the spine as you go back. And then I'll always put myself back and down and move my buttocks away from my waist. Take the blanket to the head. Now, if you're on your own with your sandbags, I tend to grab them and then flip them and then spread and reach. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to imagine like I'm by myself. If you happen to have someone with you, it's nice to have someone spread the heel of the hand, the palm, and put the sandbag from the wrist to the fingertips. So also when you come into Śavāsana, you want to make sure that your alignment is fairly square. Whereas I'm looking down my body, the center line of my body, I want to make sure that my heels are equidistant from there. And then as I take my head back and down, I'm lengthening the back of the head and neck. These are 10-pound sandbags. If you're fortunate enough to have those, I actually had these made. If you're a beginner, then it's actually quite hard to stay still. So I wouldn't recommend anything longer than 1 minute, 2 minutes per pose, per side of the pose. The important thing here is to make the root of the thigh soft. Where the thigh joins onto the body, make it dense, let it go down towards the floor so that the groins can go down. Having an extension over the front of the body is important. You have a lot of lymph nodes over the abdomen. So having that area open, the groin soft and open, will help move the lymph around the body. The bolster is supporting my diaphragm, as well as my arms out to the side. The arms being wide to the side like this and supported in line to the shoulder, again, is important for the lymph, but also keeping the chest open and broad. Allowing the breath to flow into the body with some ease. A few notes on the inward journey. You should always pay attention to your eyes, the position of your eyes. They should be towards the back of the eye socket. If you feel hardness in the eyes, just try and soften the eyelid and let the eyes go. Let them retreat back. You should also pay attention to the position of the tongue. It should be in the base of the mouth and away from the back of your teeth. The next pose is Supta Swastikāsana, supine or lying down, easy cross legs. So there's no specific leg that you should cross in first. By my habit, my usual cross is my left leg in first, but you can see I just literally move into the pose from the previous one, and all the same actions apply. Because you've been in Śavāsana for the previous pose, there should be some residual for that. Again, the position of the legs is to help with the opening of the front body, allowing the lymph to move. Again, being observant of the eyes, the tongue. If you can, relax the diaphragm with each exhalation breath. Try and observe the skin on the back of your head as well. Sometimes we press the back of our skull into the blanket without knowing. Just a word on timing as I change the cross of my legs. As I said, beginners 1 to 2 minutes. If you're a more seasoned practitioner, then up to 5 minutes, and you may need that 5 minutes. It's okay to give yourself the time. So much of our lives is always doing, always pulling us forward. This is not the time. So the last pose within this part of the series is Baddha Konāsana. Of course, you can support the outer thighs as well. I don't necessarily need that for myself. And notice I'm not using any belts or anything like that for this pose. Again, the groins are open. You can be active to begin with to seat the thigh bones into the hip socket, just as you would ordinarily. But really, once you've positioned yourself and you're more or less satisfied, then just be in the pose. Always check in with your eyes, your tongue. Maybe you're more sensitive and you're able to check in a little further within the body. Observe your diaphragm. Can you make the diaphragm soft from the center around the spine out to the sides? It's supported on the bolster, so it should feel pretty wonderful. Allow the skin on the back to spread. So I'm just going to remove myself from there and just interlock my fingers on my abdomen, just to bring myself more back to my body. And then to avoid any gripping or tension, after you've cultivated so much openness, use your arms, your hands to bring your knees to touch before rolling towards the right side. And then as you sit up, try and keep the quietness in your head. The next pose is a combination It's a combination of Setu Bandha Sārvāngāsana, which is bridge pose, and Dwi Pāda Viparīta Dandāsana, which is inverted staff pose. And again, it's done on the bolsters. And I'm kind of fussy about which bolsters that I use as well and which way, because I know them so well, they're like friends, so they don't mind. I'm just using the blankets to get a little bit of height. I've got 2 bricks here that are going to help support this bolster as I go back over. And I'm going to put the belt just at the top of the thighs, just to give me a little bit of containment. To come in, you slide your buttocks until they're basically off the bolster, but you don't touch the floor. And then lie back so that your spine is completely supported on the bolster that's spine-wise. And then I can dig my elbows into the other bolster and slide towards my head. Now, my shoulders don't come to the floor. Shoulders don't come to the floor, but the back of the skull does. That's why I have this blanket here. And then you can put your heels on top of that bolster just there. And so there should be like a parallel line between my thigh bones, my pelvis, and then the back body is elongated towards the head side. And again, the arms are wide. If you have pain in the shoulders, then you can raise the arms up, but I don't. So I'm quite happy being here. Now, for seasoned practitioners of this pose, even the full pose, your inner legs should feel long all the way to the inner feet. I have my feet wide because it's giving me some aeration and some width at the base of the body, even with the belt at the top of the thigh, just giving me some containment. There's sort of a nice interplay between those 2 states. The tailbone and the pubic bone are parallel to one another. And once I'm satisfied that I'm in the correct position, I can release the activity of the legs and just rest here. Again, the shoulders do not come to the floor. This is 2 poses in one. Setu Bandha Sārvāngāsana and Dwi Pāda Viparīta Dandāsana, often just called cross bolsters in the Iyengar community. Because it's a shorthand, we know what it means. Again, ideally, you'd hold this for 5 minutes, but anything from 1 to 3 minutes should be good. Again, you want to check in with your eyes, your tongue, but also at the level of the skin. Can you be expansive at the level of the skin from the sternum out towards your fingertips? Still let the hands relax. I'm used to staying here for 5 minutes and I want to stay, but I'm going to come back. But please feel free to luxuriate and stay in the pose. Listen inwardly to yourself. stay for as long as you need. And when you come out, always push towards your head side. Take a breath or two. Give yourself time to be in a sense of place. This is the setup for Salamba Pūrvottanāsana. Salamba means supported. Pūrvottanāsana, Purva is the east side of the body. So it's an intense stretch of the east side of the body, but we're giving it a relaxation edge. Two chairs facing one another. It's good to have the backs out of the chairs. As you can see, you don't have to have both. So yeah, let me just put the bolsters together. I put a mat to join the chair seats together, and I'm going to put a brick here so it gives me a little bit more support. And the second bolster is staggered. So my buttocks are going to go here, my head at that end. Let's add another blanket as well. Now you can get more extravagant with this pose. You could also block your feet into a wall. I'm going to use the sandbags because that's useful. And then if you don't have the wall space, you know what to do. But this is the basic setup. When I am in my own studio area, I will have my arms wide and also have my arms out to the side, just as I did before for supported Śavāsana, palms up. But it's possible to do it like this. You just have to be mindful coming in and out. So I'll start bringing one leg through, and I'm on the top bolster to begin with. But then I'll take myself down a step and use the lower bolster to grab my buttocks and pull it towards my feet as I go back and over the support. And then I can push my feet into the sandbags. So my feet are blocked in. You want to have a feeling of the body lifting up from the legs. So with the feet blocked in, you don't usually have to bend the knees and lift up towards the face. But there should be a sense and feeling of the spine, even the legs growing out from the floor. Occasionally make the legs active. Just observe the position of my head. It's basically in Bandha, which is the same position, more or less. The one that you learn in shoulder stand, but it's essential for your seated pranayama practice. So from my hairline to the tip of the nose is pointing towards the chest. Again, I'm checking in with my eyes, my tongue. What's the state of my diaphragm? Always working away at that inward journey, observing the sheaths of the body, the koshas. This is a wonderful, rejuvenating asana, and also done with the previous posture of cross bolsters. This is a great, both of those asanas are great to restore your energy and to allow yourself time to relax. when you're coming out of the poses, I should have said this at the beginning, really, let your eyes open without focusing on anything. Allow yourself time to come back to your physical space. Also, at times in chemotherapy, it's very drying. It's a very drying process. I'm thirsty all the time. So give yourself time. You might be dizzy coming up, so it's important to just let yourself be still. Okay. The next posture is Dwi Pāda Viparīta Dandāsana. I'm going to do it a specific way of having my legs parallel with my pelvis rather than the heels lower. It's possible to do it like that, but for the purposes of where I am in my treatment and showing you perhaps like where the best way to take care of yourself, I'll do it this way for today, and then maybe in subsequent practices you'll be able to see how I do it differently. So I have the mat just to the edge of the chair, and that's partially for safety too. I can see where the edge of the chair is. I want to show as well, for people that have neck and shoulder issues, I will show this as a variation. If your lumbar has issues back bending, it's nice to fill in the gap for your lumbar spine. But this is about it. So the same way that you come into all of the poses, you want to feel the extension of the spine. Don't just be casual. As far as we're aware, we only have one life. I know Hindu philosophy says no, but as far as we're aware, we only have the one. This is the one vehicle that you get. And it can be its own little voyage of discovery. So really, doing things by rote actually leads you to discovery. Okay. So I've taken my buttocks all the way off the chair. So again, my buttocks will get grabbed. And here, you can see that the back of my neck is cradled with the bolster. There's space for my shoulders between here and the edge of the chair. And I'm able to take myself so that my buttocks are just on the chair. The sit bones are pretty much on the chair. But the real litmus test is, can I get my arms underneath the chair seat and hold on? And like I said, I'm going to have my legs, my thighs parallel to my pelvis. So if you have a neck and shoulder issue, you can hear it even from the sound of my voice, basically hasn't changed. There's no strain in my voice, even though I could perform the asana with my chest more vertical and my head hanging towards the floor. These poses that are very, very similar. We did cross bolsters before. Why would you need to do this pose? The chest is more open here. Again, if this is too much, maybe like myself, I have a port in my chest for medication. You could also do this. This is fine. The chest opening is an important aspect. I found that while I'm doing these poses as I said, restraining myself, restraining sort of the urge to do your inversion practice, because you can't, you don't necessarily have the energy for it. And also you have to be mindful of the medication itself. It's literally going after your bone marrow, the very core of the core of you. So be watchful, mindful. Allow yourself this time of quiet. you'll get through the other side of this and you'll have your practice again, just as you had it before. Maybe it will even be improved because you've taken this time. You've been circumspect. You've been watchful. But still, you still need that joy of having your chest open, having your crown of your head towards the floor. And so this pose is an alternative to doing head balance, Śavāsana. Okay. Again, up to 5 minutes. Now to come out of this pose, I'm going to put my feet flat on the floor after I've taken my hands out. I'm going to go more towards my head side. I want my buttocks to be completely on the chair. These are folding chairs, so you want your buttocks to be completely on the chair to be able to come up with safety. So I'm just going to shift towards my head side, and that's good enough. And then I'm going to press my elbows down into the support and lead with your chest to come up. Let your head come up last. And again, just be circumspect, no rush. Here we go. Setu Bandha Sārvāngāsana. Let's have my friend here. Have this friend here. This just joins the bolsters together, makes them more cooperative. And I am going to put a folded blanket, a small folded blanket, under my pelvis, because that's the heaviest part of me. Yeah, and the folded edge facing away from my head. Okay. All right. You could do this with 2 bolsters, one under your chest, one under your heels. I'm not going to put the belt again, but again, I want my pelvis to be quite high. The shoulders do come to the floor for this pose. And again, you could put blankets on the floor, you could have sandbags on your palms again. But again, reach from the level of the skin at the chest all the way to the fingertips, and then let go of the effort. Again, checking with your eyes, your tongue. The chest is more inverted. You want to be in a pensive state. Sārvāngāsana is a very quieting pose. the queen of poses. Śavāsana is the king of poses. But here again, just as in the previous pose, the heart is above the head, so it's very quieting for the nervous system. It's easing for the blood pressure, this even more so than the previous pose. Easing for the blood pressure. You can see I want to stay for a long time. But this sequence is cumulative, and is all of our practice. And just as we did in cross bolsters, you slide towards your head side. Now there's one more pose to do, but actually you need the wall for that pose. Viparīta Karani. Viparīta Karani actually is very good for headaches. I'll put that out there to begin with. It's possible to do it on a chair. It's possible to do a more elaborate setup, but I'll give the basic setup for today. Now the first blanket, these are thinner blankets, these are Pune blankets. So if you have Mexican blankets, I suggest just opening them out and folding them in half, long ways. But these Pune blankets I'm going to fold twice, so they have 3 leaves of the blanket. And there's a gap between the brick and the blanket, so that the bolster is angled down towards the brick. So there's a slope on the bolster going towards the wall. My next blanket's just a normal fold, folded edge to the wall to cover the brick. And this blanket so my hair doesn't get caught. And this is a basic setup for Viparīta Karani. There are 2 ways to get in, and I'll show both. I'll show both as I do for my students. If you're unsure, you have to start with your buttock bones on the wall, and this is my left hand. I'm going to take my right shoulder to my left thumb. So that takes me all the way over here, and then my legs go up the wall. Now you can see I'm a little to the side, but I can center myself like so. That's one way of coming in. The best way of coming in is to tumble, because you land perfectly. And you don't feel that you have to mess around, you're absolutely there. So, excuse this view of me, but hands down on the floor, tuck your chin, buttocks come to the wall, and you literally just plant yourself in. Viparīta Karani. So here, we haven't done a lot of work with our legs today, but this really does seat the thigh bone into the hip socket. This is a nice way to, you notice there's 2 variations of Sārvāngāsana at the end of the practice. That tells you how much we need shoulder stand. But my chest is nice and high. The abdomen is completely supported on this bolster and allowed to spread against it. The inner thigh at the top
well, at the base of my body, where the groins are, is parallel to the floor. And the tip of my pubic bone is basically pointing to the wall. It's not coiled up towards the ceiling. Now I'm able to do that because I have long hamstrings. It's not imperative to get your thighs to the wall, but it feels nice. Your throat should be as the abdomen is, like a well. Viparīta is inverted, Karani means waterfall. If you have a headache at the beginning of your practice, you can do this pose. And if the headache dissipates, fantastic. You may need to have further intervention if it doesn't work. There are other mitigating things we can do, head wraps, etc., etc. But maybe that's all you can do for the day, is this one posture because of a headache. And then to come out, give yourself a moment, open your eyes, feet on the wall. Use your hands pressing against the bolster to push yourself towards your head until your back body is flat. And then you can have the legs in Swastikāsana, Baddha Konāsana. Maybe this is how you want your legs. That's fine. I'm going to opt for Swastikāsana today, and interlock your hands on your abdomen. And then again, use your hands on your outer thighs to bring your knees to touch, and roll onto the right side. That's it. That's basically the whole chemotherapy practice. There is an expanded chemotherapy practice, but this is probably plenty for most people. Yes, this is what I would practice if I needed to rejuvenate. I don't necessarily have time for like an hour and a half or 2 hours. This is enough to sort of bring my energy back. Like I say, I'm practicing these postures for 5 minutes each, pretty much. I hope this is useful. Again, you could practice this just for fatigue if you wanted to. It's not strictly chemotherapy only. This is the practice that Dr. Gita Iyengar came up with. Take care of yourselves and be well. Thank you.